You have something important to say, an idea that could change the company, a warning that could save the project, a piece of wisdom that could transform a relationship. You craft your message carefully. You rehearse your points. You step up to speak, to write the email, to have the conversation. And nothing. Blank stares. Polite disagreement. Defensive arguments. Your message, so clear and powerful in your own mind, completely fails to connect. It hits a wall of indifference or misunderstanding. It is one of the most deeply frustrating human experiences to have something vital to communicate and to utterly fail in the transmission. Why does this happen? Is your idea bad? Is your audience stupid? Number. The most common reason for communication failure is simpler and more fixable. You are using the wrong protocol. You are broadcasting on a frequency your audience isn't tuned into. You are speaking a language they don't understand, even if you're using the same words. Effective communication is not about saying what's true. It's about connecting what's true to the listener's world in a way they can receive it. It is an act of strategic translation, and perhaps the greatest master of this strategic translation in all of history was a man who took the most radical, counter-cultural message imaginable and successfully launched it across the entire known world. A man who faced down hostile audiences, violent opposition, and entrenched cultural biases, and somehow managed to change the course of civilization with his words. His name was Saul of Tarsus, better known as the Apostle Paul. We are going to deconstruct his communication strategy today, not as theologians, but as communication analysts. We will treat his missionary journeys as a series of high-stakes market entries, his speeches as keynote presentations, his letters as critical internal communications. Because Paul, arguably more than anyone else, understood that a brilliant message delivered with a flawed protocol is worthless. And the three-part framework he consistently deployed is a masterclass for anyone who needs to persuade, influence, or lead. If you are tired of your message getting lost in translation, hit that like button. We are about to upgrade your communication OS. Paul's career began with a radical personal transformation. He was a high-ranking enforcer for the religious establishment, tasked with shutting down the nascent Christian movement. Then, he had a dramatic encounter that completely flipped his allegiance. He went from being the chief persecutor to the chief proponent. This conversion gave him his core message, his non-negotiable, the central truth he would spend the rest of his life communicating. But having a core message is only the first step. The strategic challenge was how to communicate that specific message to vastly different audiences. Audience 1, the Jews, deeply religious, steeped in centuries of scripture and tradition, highly skeptical of anything new. Audience 2, the Greeks, philosophical, intellectual, obsessed with logic and rhetoric, worshippers of reason and a pantheon of gods. Audience 3, the Romans, pragmatic, hierarchical, focused on law, order, and power, the rulers of the known world. How could one man, with one core message, possibly connect with all three? A lesser communicator would have used the same script for everyone. They would have shouted louder when people didn't understand. They would have blamed the audience for being closed-minded. Paul did none of that. He executed a brilliant, adaptable, three-part communication protocol. Let's build the Apostle Paul protocol. Part 1. Deep audience intelligence. Know your market before you open your mouth. Paul never walked into a room and just started talking. His first step was always research. He was a master of audience analysis. The most famous example of this is his speech in Athens, recorded in Acts chapter 17. Athens was the intellectual capital of the world, the birthplace of philosophy. Paul arrives in the city, and what does he do? He doesn't immediately start preaching. The text says, he was greatly distressed to see that the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with both Jews and God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the marketplace day by day with those who happened to be there. He is doing ethnographic research. He is observing. He is listening. He is engaging in conversations. He is trying to understand the operating system of the Athenian mind. What do they value? What are their assumptions? What is their language? Then, some Epicurean and Stoic philosophers, the intellectual heavyweights, invite him to speak at a meeting of the Areopagus. This is the ultimate thought leadership conference. His chance to pitch his radical new idea to the most skeptical and sophisticated audience imaginable. And his speech is a masterpiece of audience intelligence. How does he start? Does he quote Hebrew scripture? Number. Does he condemn their idols? Number. He starts where they are. He starts with his research findings. He says, "People of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, 'To an unknown God.' This is brilliant. 1. He affirms them, very religious. He doesn't start with criticism. 2. He demonstrates he has done his homework, walked around, looked carefully. He builds credibility. 3. He finds a point of connection, a shared mystery, the unknown God. He identifies a gap in their own system that his message can fill. He then uses this unknown God as the entry point to introduce his core message, quoting their own poets. As some of your own poets have said, we are his offspring. To build his case, he is speaking their language, referencing their culture, using their logic. He is executing the first principle of persuasive communication. Start in their world, not yours. This is the non-negotiable first step. Before your next presentation, your next sales pitch, your next difficult conversation, have you done your audience intelligence? Do you understand their pain points, their values, their language, their unknown gods? Or are you just planning to dump your information on them? Part 2. Strategic message framing. Adapt the packaging, not the core. Paul had one core message, the story of Jesus. But he never delivered that message the same way twice. He was a master of framing. He understood that how you say something is just as important as what you say. When speaking to Jewish audiences, his frame was scriptural. He would start with Abraham, walk through the law and the prophets, and demonstrate how Jesus was the fulfillment of their own story. He was connecting his message to their existing narrative framework. You see this pattern repeatedly in the book of Acts. But when speaking to Gentile audiences, like the Greeks in Athens or the rural pagans in Lystra, Acts 14. Quoting Hebrew scripture was useless. They didn't know it or respect it. So he changed his frame. He appealed to natural law, to logic, to their own poets and philosophers. He talked about the Creator God revealed in nature. He started with concepts they did understand and built a bridge from their worldview to his core message. This wasn't compromise. This was strategic adaptation. The core message, the product, remained identical. But the packaging, the marketing language, the user interface that was customized for each specific market segment. Paul himself articulated this strategy in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9. Though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone, to win as many as possible. To the Jews I became like a Jew, to win the Jews. To those not having the law, I became like one not having the law. To the weak I became weak, to win the weak. I have become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. This is the second principle. Don't just translate your words, translate your frame. Are you framing your budget request in terms of cost, your frame, or in terms of investment and ROI, your CFO's frame? Are you framing your parenting advice in terms of rules, your frame, or in terms of the child's own desire for autonomy and mastery, their frame? If your message isn't landing, the problem might not be the message. It might be the frame. If this insight is helpful, hit the share button. There's someone trying to communicate right now who needs to hear this. Part 3. Multi-channel delivery. Choose the right medium for the message and the moment. Paul wasn't just a great speaker. He was a master of integrated communications. He understood that different messages and different audiences required different channels. He used public speeches for broad awareness and initial market entry, like Athens. High visibility, low individual impact. Synagogue debates. For engaging with established systems and winning over key influencers within a specific community. Targeted, high argumentation. Letters, epistles. For internal communication, deep training, addressing specific organizational issues, and maintaining connection with established teams, churches. High detail, high scalability, asynchronous. Personal mentoring for leadership development and succession planning, like with Timothy and Titus. Low scale, high impact, highly customized. He didn't just rely on one method. He built a communication ecosystem. He chose the channel that was most appropriate for the specific strategic objective. Are you using the right channels? Are you trying to solve a complex team conflict over email? Wrong channel? Are you delivering critical, nuanced feedback in a group presentation? Wrong channel. Are you trying to build broad awareness for a new initiative through one-on-one meetings? Inefficient channel. Choosing the right channel is not just about preference. It's about effectiveness. That is the Apostle Paul protocol. 3 steps: deep audience intelligence, strategic message framing, multi-channel delivery. It is a framework that requires empathy, research, flexibility, and courage. It requires you to care more about your message actually being received than about simply saying what you want to say. The core principle is this: persuasive communication is an act of translation. It is the art of building a bridge from your world to theirs, using materials they recognize and value. so that your message can safely cross the chasm of misunderstanding. So, how do we apply this? Here is the 3-step Apostle Paul framework for your next important communication. Step 1. Conduct audience intelligence. Before you write a single slide or plan a single talking point, stop and answer these questions about your specific audience. What is their biggest pain point right now? What are their core values and assumptions? What language do they use? Who do they trust? What is their unknown God? The existing belief or value you can connect your message to. Don't guess. Do the research. Ask someone who knows them. Read what they read. Step 2. Reframe your core message. Take your core message, the one thing you absolutely need them to understand or do. Now, based on your audience intelligence, reframe it. Find the angle, the metaphor, the narrative that connects directly to their world. Translate your features into their benefits. Translate your logic into their values. Write down 2 to 3 different ways to frame the exact same core message. Step 3. Select the optimal channel mix. Based on your audience and your objective, what is the best way to deliver this message? Does it require a face-to-face conversation for nuance and trust? Does it need a formal written proposal for detail and documentation? Does it need a broad public announcement for awareness? Does it require a multi-stage approach, starting with informal conversations and building to a formal presentation? Design your delivery strategy. Don't just default to email. That is the protocol. It is how Paul changed the world. And it is how you can ensure your own important messages don't just get sent, but get received. So, here is your immediate action item. Think about the one most important communication you need to deliver this week. A tough conversation with a family member, a critical pitch to a client, a team meeting about a new direction. And just do step 1. Spend 15 minutes right now doing nothing but audience intelligence. Write down everything you know about their world. That 15 minutes of focused empathy will do more to guarantee the success of your communication than hours spent polishing your own arguments. It is the first step in building the bridge. It is the first step in speaking their language.